The Happiest Days of Our Lives, Author's Preferred Edition by Wheaton. Introduction to this edition. My first book, Dancing Barefoot, was a collection of 5 short but true essays about my life as a husband, stepfather, and former Star Trek actor. My second book, Just a Geek, was considerably longer and recounted my journey from actor to writer and back again. My third book, The Happiest Days of Our Lives, was a collection of stories about how I became a geek, as well as a celebration of the geek culture that's meant so much to me for most of my life. When I chose which stories to include in The Happiest Days of Our Lives, I had this idea that I couldn't include any that were too similar to each other. This was a silly idea because all of the stories are similar to a certain extent. I figure prominently in each of them, and the common theme of geek nostalgia runs through the whole book. It was also a very bad idea, because I ended up cutting several stories that I absolutely love. The Happiest Days of Our Lives, as published by Monolith Press, is still a nice little book, and it was very well received, but I haven't been able to shake the feeling that it could have been so much nicer if I had just gotten out of the way. This expanded edition restores those stories to their proper place, where I wished they'd been all along. I am especially grateful that Bill at Subterranean Press gave me the opportunity to cast Ray's Dead on them and let me include a few other stories that were written after The Happiest Days of Our Lives was originally published. This volume can safely be called the author's preferred edition that is totally awesome and has all the stuff he shouldn't have cut in the first place. Or I guess you could just call it the expanded edition, which doesn't sound nearly as impressive, but is easier to write on a single grain of rice at the county fair. Original author's note. Over the last 6 years, I've written thousands of posts for my blog talking about every subject imaginable. Nothing generates as much email and as many comments as stories like the ones in this book. It's not surprising, really, because these stories are the most fun to write and are the closest to my heart. Stories that celebrate geek culture, passing my geeky hobbies and values along to my own children, and vividly painting what it meant to grow up in the 70s and come of age in the 80s as part of the video game, D&D, BBS, Star Wars figures generation. There are also a couple of stories about an obscure science fiction show I was part of for a few years, but I don't think anyone really watched that. Everything in this book originally appeared online.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?